Hi. This week has been kind of brutal. We have the shooting in Texas, the loss of children, and that in the wake of the Southern Baptists releasing their sexual abuse task force report, showing years and decades of the concealment of sexual abuse. If you're like me, it burdens you, it makes you sad. Just the weight of the shooting in Texas just destroys you. So what's the answer? Well, there are no easy answers. We're going to see politicians try to grab hold of ideas. Many of them will be good and some of them will be terrible. Most of the time, their big motivation will be to advance their own power and popularity. Though I'm sure some of them are trying hard to do the right thing. But what do we learn and how do we deal with this? Well, where does this evil come from? Well, as we've been studying on Sunday mornings, the evil comes from us. We are tempted to do our own thing, and while most of us don't do our own thing in such brutal, terrible ways, every single one of us finds it easy to put ourselves first. And we live in a world full of people putting their needs, their security, their happiness, their fulfillment first. And when we do that, people get hurt in small ways and big ways. Just reading up what little bit we know so far about the young man who committed this atrocity. He was a boy who'd been bullied. A boy who did not have a stable home, had not felt cared for. And because he hadn't felt cared for, he ended up not caring for others. And so he put his needs and his anger ahead of so many others. But that's what we do. Difference in scope, difference in severity, but it's what we do. And that's why God comes and He looks out for us. Jesus didn't seek His own. He sought us. And He gave up Himself. The Bible says that although He existed as God, He did not consider that what He needed to hold on to, but emptied Himself. And was found in the form of a servant. An obedient servant, obedient to the point of death, even death on the cross, because He loved us. And that's who we are supposed to be now. And that's who we're supposed to be to each other. And that's why we need community. We need each other because there are people just like the shooter and just like the victims all around us that don't feel cared for and who are hurting. And we need to care for one another. And it is easy, and especially the last couple of years, as our lives have been so disrupted by the pandemic, it's been easier to be disconnected. It's been easier to say, well, I have to take care of myself right now. And it's not wrong to take care of ourselves. Appropriate self-care is part of taking care of who God made you. But the problem is, as we go beyond self-care to self-centered care, where I care for myself first at the expense of others. And I don't mean evilly, but I am more important than everyone else, right? And right there, we once again find ourselves on the path to so much of the hurt and pain in this world today. The church is supposed to be, and it oftentimes has failed to be this, but the church is supposed to be the place where we live out the sacrificial care of Jesus. Jesus said, no one can have anyone greater love than this, that He laid down His life for His friends. And He said, and that's what I'm doing for you. And He washed His disciples' feet and said, now you do this for one another. Serve one another. And by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, that you take care of one another. You love one another. That's who we need to be as community. And that is how we respond to such terrible moments. Not by yelling political slogans, not by deciding who's to blame. Those are things we can do, sure, fine. But we need to form community and be like Jesus and love the hurting and connect the suffering and to care for one another and to care for those who are lying beside the road like the Good Samaritan did. Let that be who we are. Let us make sure that we are forming good community, especially as a church, and loving and caring for those around us, whether they be friends or enemies. No matter what, we will show them the grace and love and mercy that God, through Jesus, has shown us. I'm praying for you today. Pray for me. We got to pray for one another, but more than thoughts and prayers. We need to reach out to those around us and extend the grace and mercy of community in Jesus. I hope that you'll do that with me. Have a good day.